Hello everyone, it's Chantel from Crochet and welcome to this tutorial on how to crochet a low sew amigurumi seal. If you'd like the PDF version of this pattern, please check out the description for more details. So the materials that you'll need include a 5mm crochet hook, a darning needle, a stitch marker, as well as some scissors, some black and white super bulky yarn, some polyfill stuffing, as well as 18mm safety eyes. And please pause to read the terminology and abbreviations you will need to know for this tutorial. So to start, you are going to take your white yarn and you are going to create a magic ring. I personally like to close off my magic rings before working single crochets into them, but it's ultimately your choice. And then for round 1, you are just going to do 3 single crochets and then a 3 double crochet bobble for a total of 2 times in the magic ring. So by the end of the row, you should have a total of 8 stitches. So for the 3 double crochet bobble, you are just going to do a bobble stitch that has a total of 3 double crochets in it. And then getting started on row 2, you are just going to do an increase for a total of 8 times around, so by the end of the row you should have a total of 16 stitches. And then getting started on row 3, you are just going to do a single crochet and then an increase for a total of 8 times, so by the end of the row you will have a total of 24 stitches. And then moving on to row 4, this will be our last row of increasing. We are going to increase to 32 stitches around, and to do that you are just going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase for a total of 8 times. And then for the next 3 rows, rows 5 to 7, you are just going to single crochet around. So that's a total of 32 stitches per row for a total of 3 rows. Now we are just going to insert these safety eyes between rows 3 and 4. We're going to be putting them in just slightly above where the muzzle of the seal lies. And now I'm just securing the eyes. And this is what it should look like so far. And then getting started on row 8, you are going to do 5 single crochets, then a 5 double crochet bobble, and then 6 single crochets, another 5 double crochet bobble, and then 19 single crochets. A 5 double crochet bobble is just a bobble stitch with 5 double crochets, so a bit bigger than the one we used for the muzzle of the seal, but that's because these are going to be the arms / flippers of the seal. And by the end of the row, you should have a total of 32 stitches. And then for the next 5 rows, rows 9 to 13, you are just going to single crochet around, so that is a total of 32 stitches per row for a total of 5 rows. And this is what your work should look like. And then getting started on row 14, you are just going to do 2 single crochets and then a decrease for a total of 8 times. So by the end of the row, you should have a total of 24 stitches. And then for row 15, we are just going to single crochet around for a total of 24 stitches. For row 16, we are going to do a single crochet and then a decrease for a total of 8 times, so by the end of the row you will have a total of 16 stitches. And now we are going to start stuffing the seal. Then getting back into crocheting, we are going to get started on row 17, where we are just going to single crochet around. So then by the end of the row, you should have a total of 16 stitches. And now moving on to our last row of the body, row 18, we're just going to do a total of 8 decreases around, so by the end of the row you should have a total of 8 stitches. And now you're just going to take the time to finish stuffing your seal. And then to fasten off, you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And be sure to leave a long tail for sewing. We are now going to get started on the fins. So taking your white yarn, you are going to create a slip knot and then chain 5. And then for row 1, you are going to do an increase. And then in the next 2 stitches, you are going to do a single crochet in each. And then in the last chain, you are going to do 4 single crochets into that chain. And then flipping your work over and then working on the other side, you are going to do 2 single crochets across the next 2 stitches, so that is 1 single crochet per stitch. Then in the last stitch, you are going to do an increase. So by the end of the row, you should have a total of 12 stitches. And then getting started on row 2, you are just going to single crochet around, so by the end of the row, you should have a total of 12 stitches. Then getting started on row 3, our last row for for each of the individual fins, you are going to do a decrease and 2 single crochets, and then 2 decreases, 2 more single crochets, and then a decrease. So you are going to make 2 of these. On the first fin, you are going to slip stitch into the next stitch to fasten off, and then with the second, do not fasten off and just continue working onto row 4. So for row 4, you are going to do 4 decreases around the first fin. As you can see, I am working into the first fin now and doing the first decrease. And then once you have finished the 4 decreases for the first fin, you are going to get started on the second fin, where you will do another 4 decreases. By the end of the row, you should have a total of 8 stitches. And then for row 5, we are just going to single crochet around, so that is a total of 8 stitches around. And then to finish off the tail, you are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch to fasten off, and no need to leave a long tail for sewing. We are going to be using the long tail left from the body. As you can see, I have the seal laying down. I'm sewing the tail on so that fins lay horizontal when the seal is on its stomach. And I am just weaving in and out of the front loops only of the 8 remaining stitches of the body, and then going through the front loop only of the 8 remaining stitches on the tail. Just a back and forth process, and just make sure that your tail stays aligned as you're sewing it on. It is very important that the tail remains horizontal and isn't twisted, so it's very important to check. And now, just taking some white scrap yarn, you have probably noticed that there is a gap in between your 2 fins on the tail. So just going through, you're going to tie that opening closed using your white yarn, then just tie a simple knot and weave in your ends. And now, taking your black yarn, you are going to embroider the nose. So going across the 3 single crochets that you did of the first row, you're going to make a horizontal line, and then going into the center of the magic ring, that is going to be your bottom point of the nose. As you can see, I am just slowly starting to sew on a triangle, and then just slowly fill the triangle by doing vertical and horizontal lines within that triangle. Then to finish off, just tie a knot between your beginning and end strands and weave in your ends. And this is what your finished seal should look like. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more content like this. Once again, if you would like the PDF version of this pattern, please check out the description for more details. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.